Episode number 33 of the Making the Case. The real reasons why women are single. Trigger alert. Hey, what up, YouTube? Hey, I'm back. Episode 33 of Making the Case. No other than Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, a little bit of everything. All right. We would like to welcome you back, those of our returning folks and those of our newbies. Making the Case is where we take a topic or a question and I do research on it and I make the case whether yay or nay. Okay. We got two channel norms. One, we attack points and not people. And two, we don't do all the cussing and derogatory stuff. You know, we're professional over here. All right. Like, let me get my Snoop on. What Snoop do? You know, he pop it. You know. All right. Well, let me start being silly because for today, we have a very important topic. Okay. We have a topic that it'll be tough. This is gonna be a tough episode, okay? I must warn you, which is why in the introduction I said trigger alert, okay? I will trigger people, all right? But I want you to remember this is accountability channel, all right? We hold men, women, children, elderly, LGBTQ. We hold everybody accountable, okay? Everybody can get that smoke. You know, nobody's is off limits, all right? So, of course, you know, our topic for today, the real reasons why women are single. So, we're going to go ahead and get into our opening statement. All right. Now, I had to take a deep breath, right? Because we just about to jump in, right? So one thing that most men now it's funny that I always have to preface myself by saying most in general and things of that nature. I really shouldn't have to, right? And I know you as my audience, you're smart enough to understand that I'm speaking in general, right? So it always troubles me or is really it's hilarious to see that people will always take something personal, something that's being said, whether I say it or somebody else said, and then they'll use their anecdotal experience and to try to justify why something is or isn't a certain way, you know, which is ridiculous, right? The whole notion of generalization, which is stereotyping, by the way, is that our brain is hardwired that way, right? Our brain chunks information because there's no way that our brain will be able to keep up with all the different stimuli that's on this planet, right? We'll be driven crazy. And some people are like go insane because it's just so much to do, particularly when you're an adult, right? It's so much we got to worry about. We got to worry about bills, kids, our health, our mental health, our physical health. We got to worry about fire insurance, water insurance, car insurance, right? It's just a lot of things. So our brain intentionally chunks things. All right. So the whole notion of generalizing or saying most comes from that aspect. All right. Now I shouldn't have had to say it there, but you know, whatever. All right. So when I'm speaking in general. I always speak in general. All right. I'm not speaking on your specific situation. I don't know you like that. All right. Now, so most men understand the truth when it comes to dating and when it comes to women, right? Like, even though many men would love to have the most gorgeous woman on the planet, right? Most men understand they cannot have, whether because they don't have the looks, they don't have the money, they don't have the charisma, the style, whatever. All right. Now, so most men understand that most women don't want them like that, right? We know that most women are not attracted to most men. Men understand this, right? We understand this reality and this truth. Okay. Now, it may be a hard pill to swallow, right? But what men typically do, we typically move on. We'll upgrade ourselves. You know, we'll try to get to the bag. We'll work out, right? We'll work on our game, whatever it is, right? Self improvement. Okay. Whatever deficiency that we have that we can work on, then that's what we work on. All right. So we know that most women don't want us. We know that most of the women we try to talk to in person, they're going to turn us down. We're not going to get their number, right? We understand this as men. So when I'm speaking to women, right, women have to understand the reality when it comes to men and when it comes to dating. They have to understand that man does not want to take on you and your 2 or 3 kids. That's not ideal for him. Not the man that you want, the successful man, the man that meets your height standard, all the standards that you have, or at least most of them. That man that you want doesn't want to take on you and your 2 or 3 kids. Might not even be 1 kid. He prefer you to have no kids. That man that you want doesn't want an overweight woman. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. Okay? I'm not saying this to be mean. It's the truth. All right? Men look at things in cost versus reward. Okay? Pros versus cons. The type of man that you does. I can't speak for all men. We know we got Pookies and Ray Rays out there. We got men who are not leaders, not responsible, multiple kids. We understand this, right? Most dudes are good dudes, though. If you believe most women are good women, why wouldn't you believe the opposite? Why wouldn't you believe there's a 1-in-1 correlation? At least not a 1-in-1, maybe a 3-in-1. We know there's more women than there is men, but the numbers ain't too extreme, depending on what city you are, right? Things of that nature. But we do know a lot of men get canceled out because when they have standards, they have preferences, right? So when it comes to these standards and these preferences, they cut out a lot of men. He got to be a certain height. He got to make a certain amount of money. We know this in general. A lot of times want a Christian man. She want to be equally yoked. She want a man to be this, to be that. But the problem is that while you want this, that man wants something too. And what we're not teaching our young girls, and this is where older women are dropping the ball, and maybe even older men are dropping the ball when it comes to young men. We're not teaching our young girls is you need to be trying to find you a husband or a man at an early age. Find them at an early age. Because the older you get, the likelihood of you getting married and you're finding the man that you truly desire goes down. That's just the reality of it. So why do you see preponderance of women that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, even 60s that are still single? We got to keep it all the way G. You're not single intentionally. You're single because of trauma. You're single because you're selfish. You're single because you got an ego and you think you better than a lot of men. That's why you're single. So we just scratching the surface for this episode. This is going to be a great episode. Man, you definitely got to tune in to the end, okay? I got 3 great pieces of evidence for you to make my case of why I feel like these are the real reasons why women are single. So we just getting started, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, without further ado, we're going to jump into our first piece of evidence now. I will say this episode is going to be a little bit different because what I did was for each piece of my evidence, I get 3 different videos. So I'm going to play the video for you, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards, okay? All right, so it's going to be a little bit different than the typical episodes, all right? But it's going to be good nonetheless, all right? So let's get into our first piece of evidence.
I want to know, what is your answer to young people for some of the really big problems facing humanity, like the climate catastrophe, like economic crisis, like the precarious job market? Because I just don't, like, you talk all this much about individual responsibility. Most of us are never going to be able to afford to have all of these assets to have responsibility over. So what is your advice beyond banal comments like clean your room?
Well, it's actually rather difficult to answer a question that ends with your comments are banal politely. So, I would consider that more of an opinionated personal and political statement than actually a question. So why don't you try reformulating that so that there's an actual question there?
I want to know, what is your...
All right, so there you have it. My piece of evidence number one of the real reasons why women are single is attitude. So I want to show you a video that wasn't so obvious to what was really going on. Some of you were probably was watching and was like, okay, what, why is he playing this? Right. But it was clear to me that the young lady definitely had an attitude with attempting to ask a question to, I'm assuming, somebody that she actually wanted an answer from, right? So a lot of times when we look at women, right, they can be condescending like that to men. They can be very sarcastic, very much kind of offsetting, off-putting when they're speaking to you. And I thought the way that Jordan Peterson handled this was brilliant, actually, because he stayed calm and he rebutted her with intellect, right? Now, to see one thing that a lot of men don't have, they don't have that patience, because a lot of men probably would try to curse her out or, come back at her with attitude and things of that nature. But he was calm and, he came at her in a more authoritative intellectual stance, right? But the real reasons why women are single is because of that attitude, right? Now, this is not just in part of the reason why I didn't show a clip of a black woman, because that's what people assume, that it's just black women with attitude. No, it's just women of other races just show it a little differently, right? But nonetheless, whether you a black woman, white woman, Asian woman, what have you, attitude by far universally is going to be frowned upon when it comes to men, right? If you have a horrible attitude, we do not want to deal with you. Okay. When we see it all the time, how you respond to questions, right? Like how you wake up in the morning. That's why femininity is so important, right? A feminine attitude, a feminine woman has a more cheer to her. She has more substance when it comes to being able to understand that a man wants a polite woman. He wants a woman that's going to bring a certain attitude and a certain presence, whether it's around him, around his family, around his friends, what have you, right? So a big reason why a lot of women are single is their attitude. It's how they approach things, how they go about things, how they welcome you when you come home. Are you welcome with a hug and a kiss and a smile, right? I know a lot of times we talk about women not smiling, right? A lot of that has to do with attitude. See, a lot of times we like to think of attitude is like when somebody say something to you, well, you smacking your lips and stuff like that. No, attitude also has to do with, well, how do you naturally see yourself? How do you naturally greet people? How do you come across to people? See, that's attitude, right? So how do you carry yourself in a day in, a day out basis around everybody? Because the person that's going to be with you has to have a great attitude. We talk about negative Nancy's and all that stuff all the time. That's a poor attitude. When it comes to approaching various tasks, what is your attitude like? Are you saying, you know what? Hey, let's get it done. Let's do it to the best of our ability. Or is it, man, I don't want to do this. That's attitude. So the real reason why a lot of women are single is they have a poor attitude. Look how they think about men. They say a man is supposed to do this and do that. He's supposed to do that. I don't need no man. Look at how your attitude is. If you're going to run around here saying you don't need no man, what do you think is going to come to you? You're going to repel those good and great men from you. Fix your attitude, then maybe you'll attract what it is that you say you seek. All right. That's piece of evidence number one. The real reasons why women are single, one of the big reasons is that bad attitude. All right. Let's get into our piece of evidence number two.
Do you think that a woman's ego is earned?
Oh,
or
yeah.
given?
I feel like we earn our shit. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need a guy.
Yeah.
We're born with it.
No, it just differs from person to
I
person.
think- What do you think?
Freaking differs.
If-
Yeah.
Yeah, you earned it. Okay. Given or earned?
I think it was given.
What do you think?
I think it's earned
You
too.
think it's earned?
I think it deciphers.
It depends. Okay, so y'all definitely don't earn it, and I'll explain to you why. Y'all are basically trust fund babies at 18 years old. Most girls at 18, 19, 20 could go get on a yacht in Miami. I could not at 19, 20 years old get on a yacht. It wasn't going to happen as a guy. It's not, unless I was a star football player or baseball player or some shit, it's not going to fucking happen. Some women have a crazy ego at a young age, and it's from nothing. It's just their beauty. And the reason why is because youthful woman is just a prize for all of humanity. It's always been like this.
Do you think that a woman's ego is earned
Oh,
or
yeah.
given to her?
I feel like we earn our.
So for my piece of evidence number 2, I'm pretty sure you can kind of guess what my next reason, real reason why women are single. Their ego. All right. Now, so this video pretty much shows you the difference between men and women, right? Of course, my stance, my case will always be the same. There's no such thing as equality. It does not exist. It never existed. Okay. And I got so much evidence to back up that claim. I don't think nobody will really want to dispute that, even though people still running around here talking about equality, right? We should just stop saying that word. But for the mere fact that if a man has an ego, he has to have earned that ego, right? Now, am I saying that some women don't earn their ego? Absolutely, some women do. But some women don't, right? That's the thing. All men have to, some women don't. All right. So some women got an ego just simply because they are a beautiful woman. Pretty privilege is a real thing, right? And when we look at TV and social media all the times, who do we see across the networks, whether it's ESPN, CNN, or what have you, social media? We see pretty women, right? We understand that being pretty was a part of the reason why they're so popular, they're so famous, they're on TV, right? Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason why, but we'll be a fool to say it's not a factor, right? Pretty privilege is a real thing, right? No different than any other privilege you may have, right? Coming from a well-to-do family, all right? Being a certain race, being a certain gender. It exists, all right? But one of the reasons why women find themselves remaining single is because of their ego. They'll get a degree or 2 or 3 and they feel like they're better than somebody. Now, when it comes to the dating scene, they have to have somebody, well, you have to have this or better. I'm making this amount of money. You have to equal me or better. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I'm saying is it's a reality. It's a dating reality. Hello? It exists. To say otherwise would be foolish. And the difference is for a man is we'll date a chick that's working at Starbucks, Panera, and we'll take her and upgrade her. But women don't think like that. Women can run around here calling themselves bosses and all that, but they don't feel like they have to upgrade a man, want to upgrade a man. They want you to be really better than what they are, or at least on their level. That is the difference. So their ego is keeping them single. They feel like whether it's their looks or their money or their career accomplishments, that they are above a lot of men. We just got to keep it all the way G. This is the reality. And I'll be very much interested to see the comments from this video. How can we dispute it? We know it exists. We know it goes on. Yet it's still, what will we hear? I want a Christian man. Well, are you acting in accordance to your Christian faith, though? Is being a Christian all about money and prestige? Or is your ego and your attitude going against the very thing that you say you are and you want? Let's get into our third piece of evidence because mic drop on that. I don't think no need to go any further.
So one of the biggest issues I come across with women today is this independent woman mentality. And I used to actually call it independent woman syndrome. And I had a lot of people get mad at me because like, what are you trying to call this, a disease? You're trying to make independent women a bad thing? I'm not calling it a disease, but it is a problem. And let me explain why it's a problem. First and foremost, I think there is a lot to love about a woman who knows how to be independent, who knows how to take care of herself. She doesn't have to rely on other people to get things done. She's a go-getter. She makes things happen. She handles her business. That should be respected and honored. But notice what I said. A woman who knows how to be independent. The problem or the concern I have is when you call yourself an independent woman, you are defining yourself by the exact thing that chokes life out of a relationship: independence. Because for a relationship to thrive, you need interdependence. We have to rely on each other, trust each other, lean on each other. If we don't have a teamwork environment in our relationship, it's going to fail. So when you view yourself and call yourself an independent woman, you have a harder time getting out of that mindset. You have a harder time letting down the walls necessary to embrace someone doing for you, to embrace leaning on them and trusting them and coming together with them. And listen, independence isn't just an issue for women. If a man becomes too independent in a relationship, it will destroy the relationship. If he starts making decisions and doesn't consult you, doesn't consider your feelings, guess what? You will feel devalued. You won't feel loved. It will cause a huge problem. So it happens the same way on the other side. So I would encourage all women, as of today, stop calling yourself an independent woman. You're a woman who knows how to be independent. It's a skill. And when it's a skill, you use it when necessary and you turn it off when necessary. And when you're trying to date and build a relationship, turn the independent woman mentality off. You need interdependence. And when you embrace that, I guarantee you will.
All right. So for my piece of evidence number 3, to wrap up the real reasons why women are single, is that independent woman. For those of you, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with Stefan Speaks. He gives great advice, great content. Go follow him over there on YouTube. But he's absolute on the money. He has the same thought process on this as I do. I speak a lot of time about being interdependent, right? We're all interdependent. Now, let me give you a perfect example of how this works, right? And he's absolutely right. You have to turn off, and I get it. You coming from a situation where you had to be independent, raising your kids. Well, let me stop myself. You wasn't raising your kids by yourself, because most of us have help from grandma, friends, auntie, uncles, etc. So let me stop myself on that, right? So even in that sense, you're not a single mom, right? Or a single dad, because most of us have a family. Most of us has a village. We got to keep it real. There's a small percentage of people that literally are doing it by themselves. Do we understand this? Let me get back to my example. Now, let me give you an example from an educational lens. All right. So in education, we get 3 different main types of learning, right? We get whole group, which is the whole classroom learning together, right? We get group work, where you break students up into groups and they work together. Then you have independent study. Well, what does independent study mean? It means that I give you a task or an assignment. Now you work on that by yourself. That's independent. Now, being independent works in some regards, right? But for most of the time, like those other 2 that I mentioned, whole group and group, you're working interdependently, right? So in a relationship, you have situations where you're going to be independent working on a task. But for the most part, you're going to be interdependent. Our relationships are interdependent. Our culture, interdependent. Society, interdependent. There are spots and cases where we have independent tasks outside from our partner, outside from our family, friends, etc. Okay? Women have to get over this mentality. And I know you've been brainwashed, you've been programmed. All you ever hear, strong and independent, strong and independent. Go out there and get your bag, sis. Social media, rappers, I get it. But if you ever want to be in a successful relationship with a man, you're going to have to get that whole independent, strong, independent woman out your head. You're going to have to. It's not serving you well. If you go into a relationship talking about you don't need a man, you want one, you strong and independent, you ain't going to have one for long. I'm just trying to be real with you. Okay? It's that mentality that is keeping you single, sis. When you're saying you're independent, what you're really saying is you're independent of a man. How are you going to try to be with a man and claim to be independent? It doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron. So the mentality is keeping you single. The mentality is keeping you from being able to grow with the man and become one. The mentality is keeping you from being interdependent. The mentality is going to keep you with your dog or your cat, or if you like that, with your reptile or what have you, clinging on to other people's kids, being cool with getting your niece and nephews, going out on vacation, whether it's by yourself or with friends, because you're trying to fill a void. At the end of the day, men and women need each other. We all cling from love from a romantic relationship. Everybody is supposed to have friendships. If you want kids or not, that's your prerogative. Relationship with your kids, friends, family, romantic partner. Most people have that situation. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to normalize being single. And it's not normal. But we're trying to come up with all the excuses or why it's okay. Because we get this whole idea of being independent. All right? We're going to wrap up the third piece of evidence because what I'm about to do is I'm about to get into my closing statement and we're going to put a bow tie on this. All right? Let's get it. So those were my 3 pieces of evidence for the real reasons why women are single. Now, those were just 3 main factors. And of course, I chose those 3 intentionally for a reason because those are the 3 biggest reasons, the realest reason ever. A woman's ego, her attitude, and independency. Those are the 3 main reasons that are keeping us single. And of course, there's other factors, but those are the 3 main things. If you fix those 3 main things, the rest are easy, right? But it's funny, I have to tell you this. So when I was doing research for this, and part of the reason why I went with 3 video is a lot of the research as far as from a literary perspective, I'm reading it and I'm like, wow, it's so much information on the internet that is literally pandering to women. And a lot of them, of course, were articles written by women saying that, well, why being single is good. The reasons why, women are choosing to be single, all this choose and intentional stuff like that. No, we understand that women want to be in relationships. Who was the ones pushing for relationships? So now why all of a sudden we trying to act like women don't want to be in relationships? We were literally trying to trick them into believing that being single is a good thing. Yet they still have the desire to have children. So you got women out here that'll freeze their eggs. You got women out here that go to the sperm bank because they being told that men are bad, men are this, men are that. What we going through right now is sickening. That's why I started this channel. That's why I talk the way I talk and do what I do. If we do not fix our relationships, if we do not fix our families, if we do not come together as men and women to understand we need each other and stop with all this rhetoric talking about, well, we're going to be single, be independent, do all this. We're going to see what issues come down the line when you 70, 80 years old and you by yourself. And you're going to be expecting and putting the burden on your kids. And guess what most of your kids going to do? They're going to put you in that nursing home. Sure is. It's scientifically proven that love, the connection between human beings, keep you around longer versus solitude. There's been so many studies done on that. So why are we going with this notion that we want people to be single? And why you, young lady or older lady, don't want to understand that you got to fix you. You got to fix your attitude. You got to get out your own head. You got to start with this I don't need no man crap. And stop trying to put the blame on men. Because even if we do fault blame, it's still going to be 50-50. So when are you going to fix your 50%? When are you going to do the work on you that you need in order to get what you want? Because see, the money and everything is just a mask. Because really, like I said at the beginning, all these people that talk about they single on purpose, stuff like that, no, you hurt. You've been hurt in relationship after relationship. Because what you keep doing is you keep being delusional. And you keep telling yourself it ain't you. You keep saying, take me as I am. You keep saying, oh, no, I'm thick and I'm just keeping it real. But you got to do the work on you. It ain't nothing wrong with him wanting what he want. You want what you want. But we got to be realistic. We need each other. We got to start being accountable. These little girls are looking the way they are, talking the way they are for a reason. Where's the accountability? I'm going to keep screaming into the mountaintop. I'm going to keep dropping video after video. You're going to keep seeing me post on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. This is real. These are the real reasons why you single, ma. You got to start being honest with yourself. Do the work. I'm sorry. Man, I'm passionate about this, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is real life for me. You know, this is what I do. So, but hey, we're going to go ahead and end the episode because I can go on and on, man. You know, I ain't going nowhere. So, appreciate y'all. As always, man, thank y'all for tuning in, man. We got more fire topics. Y'all already know, okay? If you got any topics you want me to make the case on, please, you know, send them my way. All right, DM me on social media or, you know, whatever. So, as always, I am you, you are me, love always, love eternal. And, of course, the links for my book, my merch, you know, it all be in the description. If you want to support the channel, my cash app in there as well. So, hey, man, until next time. Oh, but before I forget, I think I made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. Love y'all.